Welcome to Builder Buzz by Home Nation, where we bring in builders, developers, and everyday investors to talk about one of America's biggest opportunities, affordable housing. We'll talk about real costs, explosive growth, big mistakes, and tough lessons you won't learn anywhere else. Whether you're building homes, buying land, or just building big ideas, this podcast is for you. Today, I'm sitting down with Jeremiah Campbell with Brickworks out of the Detroit, Michigan area. So this is going to be a really exciting interview. He started Brickworks in the early 2000s and just had to work his way up. Now he's got over 60 employees and does over 11 million every year. It's going to be a great interview. You're going to learn a lot more than just about masonry and foundations and retrofitting and resurfacing. You're also going to learn some life stuff because running a company takes a lot more than just going and doing the job. You got to know people and you got to know customers. And Jeremiah knows just that. So tune in. I see that, but you have that in the background, right, on your wall. Can you tell me what that means for you?
Every man dies, not every man really lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so my origin story, man, I literally got sober. And when I got sober, nobody would give me a job. I was 21 years old. And my life was heading in the wrong direction. And I've always been good with my hands. So I learned the craft of masonry. And I use masonry as a launch pad to improve the quality of my life and the people around me. I have a really, my tagline is that we're in the human development industry financed by masonry repair. So I'm a builder of people. And it's very challenging sometimes, especially in this day and age, to build individuals, right?
Wow. Yeah, that's good. When you say building people, you're specifically referring to your employees?
Absolutely, my team members.
Yeah.
So a true leader, like a manager, will light a fire under their ass. A true leader lights it in their heart. And can I meet them where they are? Can I bring them presence, calmness, and stillness, the mindfulness practices while we're out there doing what we do? It's a very challenging industry. Masonry, restoration, and repair foundations. So my company mainly does retrofits. We do anything from commercial, industrial to residential. We'll rebuild your porch. We'll take a wall out of a commercial building. We got guys on swing stage, 200 feet up in the air, all the way to tuck pointing a chimney.
Oh my goodness. But you didn't start like that. You started back in early 2000, around when you were just gotten sober. No one's giving you a job. Tell me how you're good with your hands. Why'd you decide masonry? How'd you get to that?
So I met a guy and he was tuck pointing. And at the time I painted cars. My parents are in the auto industry in Detroit. And so I painted cars. And what happened was he's like, hey, you want a job? And I was like, sure. I didn't even ask him what it was for. And we went canvassing. And we were walking down the street in St. Clair Shores, Michigan. And I knocked on a door and I told the gentleman I want to tongue and groove his porch. And he laughed at me and he goes, I don't think you can do that, sir. So the guy I was with came across and sold him a tuck pointing job on his front porch. And after that day, I've been hooked ever since. And I worked with him for about a month or two. And I was like, man, I've always been told that I should be in sales, but I never had my foot in. I never knew anybody in sales. Everybody I knew was blue collar. And we worked with our hands and it was hard labor. So I never had a shoe in to get into that. And this was my first opportunity, 21 years old, to go out there and to use my gift of communication and understanding. What I do is we meet people in pain. They have a problem. Water's getting in their building, or their porch is falling apart, or their basement wall's buckling in. They have a problem. If I can meet them and give them a proper solution to their project, and I can meet their budget expectations or offer them financing, it's a win-win situation. And it's a way that I can effectively help people. I really, truly think that anybody that I cross paths with should be better off when I left them than when I found them. Whether they like it or not, whether I'm giving them hard truths, but I want to be honest and thorough upon my investigation. And I actually love what I do. It's a headache very often, but I love what I do.
Yeah, for sure. So these sounds like these are philosophies that you've developed through time, or are these things you innately had this from the get-go? After that first month, you understood how to approach customers, you're solving their pain. Are those things you developed over time, and how did that work for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. No. So one of the things that I always tell younger people that reach out to me, and so I have a podcast as well. It's called The Conscious Contractor. And I had a podcast for 5 years with my wife called Destined to Be. And people reach out to me on social media and things, and they ask me, hey, where should I start? One of the biggest things I wish I would have done differently in my career, I'll be 39 this year, is I wish I would have worked for somebody first. worked for
Mm.
somebody in the industry to teach me things that I wouldn't have known. Everything that
Oh,
I've
really?
learned. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So everything that I've learned was the hard way, over and over and over again.
Hmm.
I didn't even know how to lay brick when I started the company. And so I had to find people. And then when you're finding people in the class, it's hard to manage and lead people that are smarter than you at what they're doing. So I had to go in, and this is before YouTube, right? YouTube was
Yeah.
just starting back then. So now you can go on YouTube, you can find everything out. This is before, I didn't have a flip phone, right? It
Yeah.
wasn't a thing back then. And so I had to learn the hard way. And so on blessings, right? Of learning these
Hmm.
things along the way. But I'm a huge advocate of mentorship, coaching, and books. I'm constantly going between books. I have a book on my stair climber in the morning that I read every day for 20 minutes, and then I'm listening to audiobooks, but I'm constantly seeking to improve the quality of my life. What does that mean? I like the shadow work. I like going in, and I like asking somebody, how are you doing? And I don't want the surface
Hmm.
level. How are you doing? What's coming up for you?
Yeah.
What's showing up? And that's what I really enjoy doing. I love
Yeah.
philosophy.
Yeah. That's good. I can tell. And you care about people and you want the best for them, whether they're your customer or they're your employee. You want to pour into them and really have them see the best in themselves or get the best outcome for their job, it sounds like.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it really fires me up. I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing when I have more energy when I leave than when I got there.
That's
And
good.
even though, so at the end of the day, we have purpose as a human being, where our souls have purpose. But at the end of the day, I use brick as a widget. And I
Mm.
get to meet super cool people every single day. And when I get
Yeah.
to show them the highest form of vibrational frequency, everything's vibration, right? And so highest form of vibrational frequency is authenticity. Can
Mm.
I truly be who I am? And that's a loaded question because people have different truths. When I run across that, and it's their truth, and don't know if it's right or wrong, but it's like, hey man,
Hmm.
who are you? How am I doing? How am I showing
Hmm.
up? And then business is a direct reflection, just like my family. I have two young
Hmm.
boys, and I watch them, and it's mirroring back to me what needs to happen. It's
Yeah.
instantaneous. And in business, I
Feedback.
get to be the
Yeah.
creator. I'm
Yeah.
creating all of it out of thin air from the day one. And so now I get to go in and work with individuals, my team members, my management team, all of these individuals
Yeah.
that I get to watch them rise up and watch where they're falling. And then they get to mirror back to me where I'm falling short.
Yeah. So how'd you create that? You literally hired people that were better than you, which is always what you want to do, really. Hire people smarter than you, but you didn't know anything. You didn't know how to lay brick, you didn't know how to mix
No.
concrete, you didn't know nothing. How'd you do that?
Curiosity, right? So a lot of people think it's like bad to ask questions. I'm the guy that asks 47 questions, and
Hmm.
there's no, you know what I mean, saying, and I've been insulted a lot, especially even when I go to these bigger, public open bids, the questions that I ask, people
Yeah.
look and smug their face and like, why would you ask that question? I need clarity on it because I want to deliver the best product possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm constantly curious, right? And so every single day I like to reach out to vendor reps, right, for different product lines, and I want to know everything there is about a product. But not only do I want to know about the product, I want to try it out. I'm not going to read their documents, I'm not going to
Hmm.
abide by their warranty. So it's the same thing when it comes to a job site, right? Well, the scaffolding gets built up, and I have a very engineering mind where I'm like,
Mm.
okay, I have to get men up to that point, and then I have
Yeah.
to get all that material down to here. How many hours, how many days is that going to take? And I just kind
Yeah.
of built the model in my head, and I'm like, it's not rocket science. If I literally
Yeah.
write it down, take a piece of paper, write down exactly what needs to be done, and start
Hmm.
mapping it out, and I start figuring it out. And then I always like to challenge the narrative, right? Just because it was always done this way doesn't mean that it should be done. I go to old historic homes, and the first thing most of the customers say is, "Hey, just don't make them like that anymore." And I'm like,
Mm.
"Yes,
Hmm.
good thing."
Yeah.
And they're like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "Well, no, back then the building materials were built correctly. Now, very
Hmm.
rarely those old houses will get underneath a porch or and they literally use wood from where they chop
Yeah.
the tree down to support it." And I'm like, "No, now we have steel beams. Now we have the
Yeah.
products were better back then, but now, in my opinion, at least, but
Yeah.
the actual execution of they didn't have drainage plans. So a customer calls me
Yeah.
up that their house is 100 years old. It's never leaked before. Now it's leaking. Well, yeah, because the mortar is broken down. The brick had broken
Hmm.
down over time, just like your body does, and it
Yeah.
breaks down. So that's why we need to do preventative maintenance.
Yeah, yeah. So you get these first couple guys, you're learning things as you go, but you have to do, it sounds like every single job you sell it and you do it for the first handful of years with Brickworks. When did you start to expand and what was that transition like?
That's a great question. So it was my first time I did an ad, and
Oh
I
yeah?
turned my computer right here. That's my first ad in 2007.
Oh wow.
First ad that I did, and it used to be 2 words with a Z. My father-in-law said, you got to change that because Google was just coming around. You got to change that. And I met a guy, and he met me and at the time it was me, and I would go out there, and I'm like, well, I need a helper. So then I hired one of my buddies. He came out, he became my helper. And then I would show him what to do and how to do it. And then I would start running the job sites with him, run my estimates after. Then I brought one more guy in, my brother, and then they were running the job sites. And then what I would do is about within the first year, I bought my second truck. And once I bought my second truck, we would drive together to the job sites. I would get them going on the project. And then I would start leaving about 2 to 3 hours early. Hey, you guys got this, finish joining, do whatever you got to do. And then I would leave and I would start running estimates. When I ran that first ad right there, so I never understood marketing and business, and I never understood your business. Dude, at about 2017, when I found EOS, that's when I really realized that there's two different types of businesses. You have the sales and marketing engine of a business, which is completely separate than the production. There's a lot of craftsmen out there that are really good, and I call them unicorns. And every once in a while you can find them, but you're not gonna be able to get a hold of them by phone. You're not gonna be able to get a warranty. You're not gonna be able to stay that if something, God forbid, happens to them or their family, they're not showing up to the job site. Right? And so I learned, and these are all things that subconsciously I was taking the information in and didn't realize it. So it was when I ran that first ad in 2007, and my phone started ringing, and I was like, well, wait a minute here. I found a way I can give the customer a really good product. Because at that point, I started doing subcontracting work for other vendors. People would see my truck, other builders and things like that. Hey, we go touch point this work. And my costs were so low, it didn't matter. It was $200-$300 to do something that's cost me $2,000 now. Back then, if you can find an owner operator that can do a good job, you're not going to, the things that you don't get. Some people like to gamble. Some people, I hear it every day. My brother's cousin does this and they do that. And most people don't understand, if you hire that guy and he's not insured, your homeowner's insurance isn't going to cover him. So you're literally in gambling. And so those are all the things that I subconsciously learned along the way. And then I hired coaches. I hired people, and I have a really, one of my God-given gifts is to be able to authentically connect to people. And when I find somebody that is where I want to go, whether it's in my industry or a different industry, I do everything I can, just like I do for my customers, to provide value, right? So there's a guy named Joe Polish. You ever heard of him? Sorry. So he owns a group called the Genius Network. They call him the most connected man in the world. And he calls them ELF relationships, right? And you need more ELF relationships. They're easy, lucrative, and fun. And so that's what I seek out. Relationships I can provide value to people. And there's a law of the universe, law of reciprocity. If I add value to you, Quinton, I'm then going to become valuable to you. You're going to remember me when you have something in Detroit, right? I want to be of value to you. I don't like these transactional relationships, right? I'm not about that. I want to be part of, and I used to say that it was about relationships over transactions. Well, the next level of that is transformational over transactional. Right? Like we can grow together, and I don't have to be like, well, Quinton's going to take my customers and, he's going to listen. He's going to have more podcast listeners than I do. No, we can do this together. To grow organically and provide value, because good people that making good money can do great things.
No, absolutely. You seem intensely interested in people and what makes them tick, and bringing value to them, and like understanding their needs and bringing value to that, which is like, that's the right person that you want steering the ship. That's you can't have the laborers that work with their hands. They have a skill set in and of themselves, but you put them into like selling a job, it's not necessarily going to work out. And I imagine you maybe I imagine you had some run-ins with that. We're like, no, this is not working. Where you put someone in.
A lot of my guys in the field, man, that's who's bringing the revenue in, right? The sales reps can go out there and sell the projects. We have a sales team. I have a commercial estimating team. I'm one of the commercial estimators as well. And when the installer, the guy doing the work, and all of our guys are W-2s, and those individuals, when they start talking to customers, it usually doesn't end good, because they're gonna be like, well, you could have done it this way. When we go out as a sales representative, my job is to find their pain point and give them a product that best fits their pain points.
Correct.
And they don't know. And so that's what I always say, whenever there's a challenge or a problem anywhere, personal or professional, I need to know the facts. And I need the whole scenario. So Viktor Frankl talked about that, right? Between stimulant and response, there's a space. And that's when So I can run up to somebody, a customer, I can run up to somebody, and people have, as the human anatomy, as being human being, you have two choices. You can either respond, right? You can respond to them, or you react. And
Hmm.
that knee-jerk reaction, and when people get super upset and fly off the hook, that's just trauma loops and trauma responses. And so, can I
Yeah.
successfully navigate that?
Yeah, for sure. So navigating that, bringing value to your customer, you're one of the commercial estimators. You have residential estimators as well. You've got people on the field. You've got people in the office. How many employees total do you have?
So we just downsized a little bit. We're about 65 right now.
Yeah, that's a.
So,
Go ahead. Sorry.
we've gone through different, coming out of COVID times.
Hmm.
We got a lot of shops in the area closing down. A
Yeah.
lot of people are panicking and doing things that they shouldn't be doing, or racing to the bottom and price dropping. I'm very grateful that we have both residential and commercial sides of the business,
Mm.
because it allows us to still maintain who we are and what we do. We've been doing this 19 years, and a lot of our competitors have it. In commercial space, they have. But in our residential space, they haven't, and they've been together. And I'll be honest with you, I started,
Mm.
my business. I was so small, the recession didn't bother me at
Yeah.
all, and so I've never been in an industry or a time frame where we are seeing declines in revenue, where we're seeing
Yeah.
those things. And President Trump, like him or not, and Elon coming in to do the Doge thing, we've
Hmm.
had to do that, and we're continuously doing that in our company. Where
Yeah.
can we cut costs? How can we do this? Because during COVID times, man, everything was, how fast can you do it? Price didn't matter, and then what happened is that drove a lackadaisical mindset within the installers, within us. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter, just go get it done. Okay, this used to cost us 25, it's $75 now. Okay, and that all of that didn't get into account. And so,
Yeah.
me being who I mean, after this, I'm going to meet with my CPA right after this call.
Yeah.
You have to look at business a lot differently and a lot more strategically to make it through these tougher times.
For sure. Now, I was speaking with a contractor in Ohio yesterday, and he does floors. He owns a couple flooring companies, and he had very similar words where they were just doing things, running jobs. People didn't care. Price didn't matter. Customers had money from the government providing funds during COVID, and he just was growing and growing and wasn't ready for that shrink. And you kind of get that jerk, right? Well, okay, we got to adjust here. And he's adjusting, but it's like, man, if I just had a little bit more foresight, I could have prepared a bit better and not had it just shock me as much as it did.
Yeah, it's like history repeats itself over and over again. What comes up must come down,
Mhm.
right? And then egos get involved, and we think that we're going to take over the world, and all of those things. And if you don't gear yourself, I'm very grateful for the team that we do have, right? I'm very
Yeah.
grateful for the people that are here that are indebted. There's a lot of tears around this place. A
Mm.
lot of people that are super emotionally charged, and they're in love with our culture and our brand. Right. And
Mhm.
I believe culture is a cult, right? That's where the word comes from. It's, you're drinking the Kool-Aid or not. You're on the team or you're not. And
Yeah.
that's the hard part, especially right now. If you're not here for the brand, you're not going to make it, because we can't work with individuals that are here for their paycheck. It's got to be something bigger, because it's this place, it's seasonal, right? But we work year round,
Yeah.
and our prime season's 9 months. It takes us 4 to 5 and maybe even 6 months to climb out of the hole from what winter brought us into. So it's a very, every dollar counts
It
nowadays
does.
in these,
Yeah.
in almost all industries, really.
So with residential, what are the common jobs that you're taking? It's a lot of restoration. It sounds like. So what are those common jobs? Do you do any foundation work, driveways, sidewalks, what have you? Just fill in.
Yep.
Our customers would be curious to know.
Absolutely. So our thing is, we're like the Chimney King in
Hmm.
Metro Detroit area. So we do more chimneys than like our next four competitors, and that's what we're geared for. So every one of my trucks
Hmm.
roll out there. We run F550s with massive enclosed trailers. So every one of them's ready to do level 4 scaffolding, jungle gym setups to get to the top of that. So chimneys is one of our big setups. Tuck
Hmm.
pointing. Our guys are experts at color matching. We have pre-mixed designs with a lot of with spec mix that'll come out, and we have a series of colors that are automatic. We have them set up, and we store them in our warehouse. A
Yeah.
lot of anything to do with leaking or settling basements or crawl spaces. So
Hmm.
we don't sell systems, we sell solutions, right? And so private equity is massive in Detroit when it comes to waterproofing, and so there's 5 big competitors in private equity here. We got into foundations because there was a need. I went out and tuck
Hmm.
pointed back 15 years ago. I tuck pointed a house myself, and the customer called me upset with me the next year. Hey, it failed. Impossible. I did it myself. There's no way it failed.
Hmm.
I go out there with a big gap. Well, then I started researching it, just like being super curious. Why did that work fail? The foundation was shifting. I know where the garage, 42-inch footing
Mm-hmm.
meets the garage, it
Mm-hmm.
started to rock free, the clay, the soils, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I got into doing helical piers. We partnered with Magnum Piering out of Cincinnati, Ohio. They
Yep.
trained us, they brought their guys in, they showed us. And so we do a lot of helical piers. We do a lot of projects that customers don't feel right with using the big box guys because of their systems and solutions. I'd say a third of our work comes from those guys because they won't stand behind the warranty because attorneys wrote their warranties. The way our stuff works is if it moves and shifts or fails, we're redoing it, period. No matter, no ifs, ands, or buts, no prorations, no nothing, because I know the products that we're standing behind. I know
Yeah.
what we're doing. We drive to load bearing stratum. We're not waiting to drive to 21 feet and bust it. So we'll do anything from epoxy injection. We do high pressure. We won't do the foam fill, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So
Mm-hmm.
residentially, porches, chimneys, porches, tuck pointing,
Yeah.
foundations. Commercially, we'll do anything, pretty much anything when it comes to commercial structural steel, limestone
Yeah.
restoration, facade restorations. A
Yes.
lot of that stuff on our commercial side has to do with water. Anything where water is leaking in your building, that's what we do.
Yeah. Okay. So as you enter leaner times, right, and you have to downsize a bit, how do you respond? Do you say, "That's it. We're going to do different things. We're going to provide different services to our customers. We're going to foray into different areas of masonry," or do you say, "Look, we're just going to lean down our team and focus on the clientele that we have currently"? How do you respond to that?
Yeah, so being in the founder, leader, visionary role, I like shiny objects. So my play is we do masonry restoration and waterproofing. That's it. Man, last
Mm,
year I started up a concrete company. We were manufacturing our own concrete, and we got out of all of that, all of
really?
it. All of it. Yeah. It's a commodities business. I got it handed to me. Put it that way. No,
Really?
that's what we do. And we're really good at it. We're really good at masonry restoration and waterproofing. And anything outside of that, we're not messing with it. Sure, I can do pavers. Sure, I can pour concrete. Sure. And we'll always do concrete. We do driveways and,
Yeah.
catch basins and things like that. We'll always do that. But for advertising and going after it, masonry restoration and waterproofing, bring it down to what you do. Have you ever heard of EOS or traction?
Yeah. I've
Okay,
read the
so
book.
so that's here in Detroit. So Gino Wickman's,
Oh,
Livonia,
okay.
all of those guys. I think every company that you read in there, Rocket Fuel, those are all Detroit-based companies. So this is
Oh
like the
well.
epicenter of EOS, and they call it like, what is your not your unique ability? Like, what is your primary focus? What is your niche?
Yeah.
What do you do best? What can you do better than any of your competitors? And that's how you make it in this business. Now, no matter what guru or anybody out there tells you, be
Yeah.
really, really good at one thing and do that the absolute best, and then you don't need to do other things. Now,
It's good.
I travel out of state. I'll do retrofits for the storage units. We'll do those things, but it's still in our lane. And when I
Yeah.
got distracted, and so I used to believe that everybody could do what I do, and then that was one of the
Yeah.
everybody has their own unique abilities. And when I ask somebody to step out of that zone, and then it's almost like I'm forecasting them to fail, so that
Yeah.
I can.
Failure. Yeah.
It's just craziness, and it's like, hey, what are you really good at? And then as a leader, you find out what they're good at, and then you bring that out and you allow them to grow into the best version of themselves.
Yeah. It's really good. Yeah. You're like what you say. Brick masonry. It's just a medium. It's just a method for connecting with people, for empowering people, for providing solutions. If you loved electrical, you could be doing electrical and you'd be the same person saying a lot of the same things you're saying here, but through the medium of electrical.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The idea is like the conscious contractor. That's what the idea is, right? We're all the contractors of our lives,
Mm-hmm.
and what are you doing like in your
Mm-hmm.
life that's improving your life and the quality of others? And most people don't know. They don't know what they don't know. That's ignorance, right? And it's like, what are you creating? And when people complain or they're upset about something, I simply ask them, like, what is your part in that? What is your part in that? Like, you are
Mm-hmm.
co-creating that mess. I sleep pretty well at night knowing that no matter what industry or where I go, I still have me, right? And so people
Yes.
panic. I got friends that are panicking, and I'm like, look, dude, like you built this, you've created this. And
Yeah.
it's not about the destination. It's not about the sale of a company. It's not about the X amount of revenue. It's about who you became along the way. And that's the real trick. But getting people to see that when we got social media and all these things of driving this car, living in this house, going on this vacation,
Mm-hmm.
in comparison is the thief of all joy. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to be busy comparing yourself to the guy down the street or somebody else, I was so blessed to have so many good mentors along my business career and personal. Is one of my guys would always tell me, he goes, "You be right, I'll be happy. You be right, I'll be happy." Like, are you living the best version of yourself? And
Yeah,
guess what, Quinton, you're the only one that can ask yourself that.
that's great. No, I love it. Well, thank you, Jeremiah. Yeah, I can see Brickworks from you being the leader in the company, running the company, whatever you guys do, whatever it is related to masonry or anything else, I know it's going to be an expert job. I know it's going to be done right. I can see even just from the Google reviews that you guys have, you almost have 0 1-star reviews. You just have tons of 5-star reviews. Boom, and that speaks. I can hear it in the way you're speaking and how you talk about your employees, how you talk about customers. So anyone that's listening to this podcast now, if you have any masonry stuff and you're in the Detroit area, Brickworks is going to do a fantastic job. You can just tell from the way that Jeremiah is composing himself and the way that he runs his company. Every job's going to be done right. I can see that for sure.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time, man. Is there any last things you want to say? Any last information you want to share with those who are listening?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on Instagram at Jeremiah_Campbell. That's my personal Instagram. Find me over at LinkedIn as well. And if you get a chance, we're relaunching the podcast. It'll be out next week, and it's The Conscious Contractor.
Awesome. That's good. You want to share a little bit of what that's going to be about?
Oh yeah, man. So I believe that every single person has the opportunity to create any life that they've ever wanted, right? And so we use, like you said in this episode, as a mason contractor, the conscious contractor is bringing everything that I know about the universal laws. I found a way to walk myself out, to be happy, to be successful, and to enjoy the quality of my life. So I'm sharing the things that I've done along the way, the inner dark, deep work that I've had to create to be the person that I am today. And it's an easier, faster way out without cutting a check, without actually having to do anything to spend the money, right? I spent too much money figuring these things out, hiring these coaches. And so I'm delivering real life action. We're going to be talking about leadership, guiding yourself, relationships with significant others, all of the topics, the life topics that contractors are dealing with along the way.
That's awesome. And that launches next week, Conscious Contractor?
Yep.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jeremiah. I appreciate your time today. Really thankful. It's been great talking with you.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, we'll see you.